The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
This is News Talk.
Hi there folks, you're welcome along. So Roddy Doyle, when he isn't writing award-winning books, has been supporting Chelsea since the 1967 FA Cup final, and it's fair to say the last 18 years have been good times. He's going to join us after a second Champions League trophy in just 9 years. That's at 7:30. Pat Nevin was in Porto for the game. I suspect he's happy as well. He's with us after 9 o'clock. Niamh Briggs joins us on the weekend's rugby at 8. And then on the GAA front, the job Colin Collins has done and is continuing to do with Clare football over the last 8 years, often overlooked. They have secured Division 2 status once again for a 5th straight year. We're going to chat to Colin later on. They were in Division 4 when he took over. And the great Tim Vickery with us later as well. The Copa America has lost its 2 host countries. 53106, the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. So it seems Argentina, with COVID cases hitting 35,000 a day, is that to step back from hosting the Copa America in 2-3 weeks' time. Colombia was already gone because of political unrest, and so Brazil, I would think a cocktail of COVID and political unrest, has stepped in. So we'll chat to Tim later on. Richie McCormack will bring us the news of the day. Hello.
How are you, Joe?
Nathan Murphy, good evening to you.
Evening, Joe.
Early tweet in, lads, I'm on the way to training, the sun is shining, off the ball on, we're back baby, says Eddie in Kilkenny. We are back. Eddie, you've no idea. Nathan Murphy, I'm sure you've all seen the photos, partying hard Saturday and Sunday on South William Street, Dublin 2. Nathan.
Oh, the top was off. I was on the shoulders. It was like Happy Monday style all over again. I apologise to anyone who had to witness such things. Yeah, what a weekend, eh? The most Irish solution to an Irish problem. What are we going to do? We're going to close down the streets. We're just going to close the streets. Nobody come into town ever again. All will be fine.
Yeah.
The logic they've been peddling today is hilarious as well, whereby they've been asked, Dublin City Council have been asked, could you not provide more bins and toilets so that, the street would be less of a mess? And their logic is, no, sure, we couldn't be doing that now. That'd be encouraging people to come into town, which is just mad. Absolutely mad.
It's very confusing. Very confusing. It didn't stop Murphy and St William Street just screaming outdoor summer over and over again.
That wouldn't be a pretty sight for anybody.
Hats off.
So, busy show, lots going on. I think we got to start with Pep and Tuchel in the Champions League final. Nathan, it feels kind of unfair on Tuchel to start with Pep, but Pep is so much the story here. The most overused stat of the last couple of days: in 59 of 60 games, either a Rodri or a Fernandinho has started in a game for Man City, and he did it again, Pep. I mean, he looked at things, he thought about things, and he said, I'm going to come up with something a bit different here, and has been roundly slammed for it. To be fair, not all in hindsight either. I think a lot of raised eyebrows when the team was announced in advance of the game.
Oh, the second I saw the team, I was thinking, wow, he is going in for the kill here. He is going to not just win this Champions League final, but to win it convincingly with a style of play that we'll be talking about for years to come. And the complete opposite happened. They had no control over the match at all. It was bizarre watching a Manchester City who just struggled to keep hold of possession. Almost all their players who were in form, I thought, were really poor. Kevin De Bruyne, before he picked up the injury, was having little or no influence on the game. And they just needed someone to calm it down, because N'Golo Kante was running the show in a way that he wants to, which is breaking up play, bringing it forward quickly. And you just were waiting for a Fernandinho with one of his cynical tactical fouls to slow it down. And yeah, is it overthinking it? I was reading that interview with Thomas Muller where he was talking about with Bayern Munich how you could tell that Pep the week before a match was spent a lot more time thinking about the opponents than he would on a regular week. It is a Champions League final. You should be thinking more about a Chelsea in a Champions League final than you are a Fulham or a West Brom in the Premier League. But to go away from everything that he believes in and that has served him so well for no reasons that you can think of. It doesn't make any sense what he tried to do. I just don't understand what the aim was, because it didn't give them more possession. It didn't give them greater control. It just created a bit of chaos, which played into Chelsea's hands.
Yeah. I kind of understood the Rodri thing, because watching him the last couple of weeks when he has played, I think he has been poor on the ball. PSG first leg, I think he may have lost Pep a bit in that game because he was so bad. But Fernandinho's come back and been great. And further to your point, to go into a Champions League final and impose upon yourself an 11 that have never played together. just seems crazy when you're going up against, in Tuchel, this Chelsea team that have absolute clarity about what they're doing. So to impose that on yourself, like, I totally agree with you on the attacking side of things. Would the goal have been prevented if Fernandinho was there? Who knows? You know, they're saying maybe Gundogan could have been 10, 15 yards further back. I still can't get away from the fact ultimately it's Zinchenko's fault. But maybe Fernandinho's there. But you can concede a goal for sure. That can happen. It's, as you said, the fact that they were so ineffective on the ball and going forward. And I do think that had a lot to do with the shape being new, the personnel being new. Foden, 21-year-old genius that he is, you're asking 21-year-old genius in the most important game of his career thus far to play in a deeper role than he's used to accommodate Sterling. Sterling's not having a good day against Reece James. Mahrez not having a good day against Chilwell. De Bruyne, I mean, before the injury, was just so quiet. And he never seemed to, I mean, he was just spending his time in that part of the pitch populated by Chelsea bodies. You're kind of willing him to come a bit deeper, you know, that inside right channel, and put a few crosses in or get a bit more involved. And like, they were toothless. One shot on target, I think. Now, I know that's not a total representation, because Rudiger, brilliant tackle on Foden, and Azpilicueta was there on a few occasions to clear balls effectively from being tapped in. But one shot on target is kind of a poor return. So, yeah, like, it's disaster.
Even if they had gone back to what they were doing in that brilliant 14-game run where João Cancelo was playing at a fullback and stepping into midfield and providing a bit more of a base, but he wasn't there either, and he's had a big dip in form, like Rodri over the last few weeks, maybe because the intensity dropped because they had the title sorted. But there's a rhythm of watching Manchester City play, and it's based around one of Rodri or Fernandinho. They just sit there and they give the ball to the 5 talented attacking players in front of them, where that guy wasn't there. Gundogan isn't that player. So suddenly you have 3-4 guys trying to be that guy, trying to take the ball from the deeper positions, rather than just, as you say, in the biggest game of these players' career, suddenly putting a bit of doubt in their heads. Suddenly there's this tactical game plan that they're not used to in the biggest of games. Whatever about going out and trying it and trialing it in Premier League matches, to go out against a quality Chelsea side who you know are going to be very well organised, it does seem, and has proven to be, an extremely, extremely risky game plan that is now going to, listen, how much pressure you can be under when you're Pep Guardiola and you may go out and sign one of Harry Kane, Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappe, and will reinvest, but you'd expect him to challenge for the title again next year. But it was the one question mark, is does he overthink these things? And again, I don't know if you can overthink a Champions League final, but you can do stupid things under a bit of pressure, and that certainly feels like the case on Saturday night.
Yeah, rigorous analysis and overthinking is fine. I guess the losing of your nerve, maybe, Richie, is the accusation. And look, a part of me, even as we're sitting here, us three, you know, three great football men going to town on Pep Guardiola, it is a touch simplistic to reduce everything down to that one decision. Of course it is, but even Pep, when he was asked about it, referenced the Lyon game on his own and referenced that Dortmund game, the Munich game a couple of years ago where he dropped Muller and made all sorts of mad changes. He actually referenced them and said, look, I'm doing the best I can in these games and making the decisions I see as being the best decisions. So it's funny that even it was top of his head, the Lyon game in particular. Like this now, unfortunately for him, goes down in this kind of similar space to the Lyon game and the couple of other games where he's been too clever, which is probably unfair on him, but that's the way life is.
I think he's been a little bit spooked by Tuchel. Like, if you look at the 3 games that they played against Chelsea in the space of the last 6 weeks, he's played a different formation in each of them. He started off in that semi-final. Granted, there were a host of changes for that game, and there are a lot of caveats we can put beside it. But he played both Fernandinho and Rodri in midfield for that game. Cut to the league game a couple of weeks later, and he just has one of those in midfield. Cut to the Champions League final, and he's decided to go with none of them. It's like he's trying to, outfox Tuchel in the kind of worst ways, but they're trying to concentrate too much on Tuchel's game and not on what has made Manchester City such an imperious force since the turn of the year. Because since November, December time, they've been absolutely magnificent in the league. Nobody to touch them. All you have to do is keep plugging away with that formula and not tinker with anything. Whereas, look at what Tuchel has done over the same span. Hasn't monkeyed around with things, hasn't fiddled with things too much, uses everybody to the best of their capabilities. And I don't think you could say that of Guardiola in Saturday's final, because I think Dave McIntyre mentioned it in commentary on Virgin Media. Like, the likes of De Bruyne and the likes of Bernardo Silva at times look really confused as to what their roles are supposed to be. And as soon as you have a confused player of that level of talent who's not sure what they're supposed to be doing, then they become a passenger, and you can't have passengers in a Champions League final. I mean, look at Harry Kane being unfit 2 years ago. He ultimately hurt Spurs' chances because he just wasn't on his game. You can't have passengers and you can't overthink these things going into a final. You can't take a chance. You just have to go with what you know and what's worked.
Well, I don't ever remember him with that great Barcelona team dropping Sergio Busquets to bring another more creative player into the midfield.
No.
He didn't suddenly decide I'm going to play Xavi as the deeper player just to get another creative force. Actually, Busquets did the job. He swept up everything and he let those other 5 players work their magic again and again, knowing that if they lost it, if somehow on the rare occasion it broke down, you had that safety net there. So to take that out, and listen, maybe the way the game ended up being so open at periods, it more enforced the view that Fernandinho doesn't let that happen. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting few months as to how he reacts again. Like, it's a lot of big games that he's made a lot of big tactical changes that haven't worked out.
De Bruyne's eye. Whew. Like, I wasn't surprised to hear he'd broken his cheekbone afterwards, and it was almost like Billy Joe Saunders against Canelo a couple of weeks back. It was like this instant puffiness, and initially I thought he was concussed. Maybe he was, but he was just he was in tears. Certainly, that was kind of a memorable moment of the game where you thought this isn't going to work out for Man City. Phil says, pretty sure I saw Nathan mounting the Daniel O'Connell statue on Saturday. The great orator has never looked better. O'Connell was looking good too. Thank you and good night.
Hey,
well played, Phil. So let's start the news round, Richie. It is, as ever, with thanks to Gillette. We don't just play the game, we change it. Gillette, made of what matters. Roddy Doyle is going to join us 7:30. Long-suffering Chelsea fan. Well, until about 2003. And ever since then, it has not been long-suffering Chelsea fan. It's been ridiculous. So Roddy Doyle is going to join us around 7:30 or so. Good news for Johnny Sexton.
Do you know what, Joe? I'm actually going to begin with Roland Garros, because in the past few moments, Naomi Osaka has announced that she's withdrawing from this year's French Open. You might remember she decided not to partake in any of the press conferences and was subsequently fined $15,000 and warned by the Grand Slams Federation that she faces expulsion, not just from Roland Garros this year, but also into Wimbledon and the US Open going forward. She says in a statement, I think now the best thing for the tournament, other players and my well-being is that I withdraw so that everyone can get back to focusing on the tennis going on in Paris. I never wanted it to be a distraction, and I accept that my timing was not ideal and my message could have been clearer. More importantly, I would never trivialize mental health or use the term lightly. The truth is that I've suffered long bouts of depression since the US Open in 2018, and I've had a really hard time coping with that. Anyone that knows me knows I'm introverted, and anyone that has seen me at tournaments will notice that. I'm often wearing headphones, as that helps dull my social anxiety. Though the tennis press has always been kind to me, and I want to apologise especially to all the cool journalists who I may have hurt. I'm not a natural public speaker and get huge waves of anxiety before I speak to the world's media. I get really nervous and find it stressful to always try and engage and give you the best answers I can. So here in Paris, I was already feeling vulnerable and anxious, so I thought it was better to exercise self-care and skip the press conferences. That's Naomi Osaka's statement, or at least part of it, as she announces her withdrawal from the 2021 French Open. She was already through to round 2, where she was going to face Anna Bogdan after beating Patricia Maria Tig yesterday in straight sets.
Wow, that is big news. I mean, that doesn't look great now on Roland Garros's part.
She's been badly let down by the sport.
Wonder, were they aware the extent to which all this was going on? I think if this statement had come out a couple of days ago or last week, even the most belligerent idiot types would say, oh, well, that's fair enough. Of course you shouldn't be asked to do press conferences then. I mean, it'll be interesting to see now how Roland Garros respond. I wonder if they understood the full extent of what was going on. I mean, you could certainly argue they should have taken her at her word, but wow, that's amazingly kind of striking statement, isn't it, to pull out of the French Open as well. God, disaster for Roland Garros.
Well, I think if she had made public, or not even public, if she had made it clear to the French Open organisers that this was the reason behind stepping back for the course of this tournament, they would have had to, surely, say, okay, this is acceptable, and you can put the word out quietly of this is what's happening. I can understand some of the criticism that was there maybe before people realised this, that also don't want others who maybe aren't going through the same struggles who see it as an easy cop-out of avoiding a press conference that they don't really feel like doing. And also I can understand the frustration of journalists whose access has been massively restricted, and more we just see things coming through official channels and people's own version of the truth. But when there is something as serious as this and a player decides to step back, and maybe it was the initial statement, which it's a private situation that she's dealing with. Maybe at the time didn't want to make it as public as she's had to now because of the backlash. But it'll be interesting to see what the fallout is.
It does feel like it could have been handled better on all sides. I mean, if she put out a statement like that initially, for instance, well, there's certainly no way that she's getting fined $15,000 or that anybody has any issue with her dodging a press conference. So that's one thought. Secondly, she may not wanted to have gone this public about her depression. Not everybody does, in which case you wonder why there wasn't communication behind the scenes. Because I think if that message is communicated behind the scenes, I also don't think the reaction of the authorities will be to fine her $15,000. The reaction you would think would be, well, we're going to support you. So that's why I'm curious to see what French authorities say now about this. But that's extraordinary news. So the face of women's tennis is pulled out.
Assume, exactly, Joe, that like for it to come to this extreme level, at some stage a conversation has been had, even in the last 24 hours of, if I have to do these press conferences, I'm going to pull out of the tournament. And somebody says, well, we don't want that. What can we do? Whether it's a compromise or what can we do to help you through this?
Yeah, because they released a statement in the last 24 hours effectively saying like there's been no engagement from her side and we're trying to talk to her about how we could maybe arrange things to allow her to continue with doing some media duties. They had kind of made that point. So I don't know what the truth is there behind the scenes. But Naomi Osaka out of the French Open. She's withdrawn from the French Open is the breaking news there from Richie. We were going to start with Johnny Sexton before all that.
Yeah, we were indeed. He has taken a significant step towards a return to action by resuming full contact training this week at Leinster. The out half sustained his latest head injury during the Heineken Championship quarter-final win over Exeter back in April. This weekend's Rainbow Cup meeting with Glasgow could come too soon for a full return. Meanwhile, flanker Will Connors will miss the remainder of this season, whatever's left of it, having undergone knee surgery. Coach Robin McBride was asked this evening what are the chances of Sexton featuring at Scottstown.
You know, he's done a bit of contact today, and we'll just reassess as the week goes by, really. It's obviously a short week, so we're training Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday. So we'll see how the week pans out, really. Today is our main, tomorrow is our main working day. So, yeah, we can just step things up with regards to the level of contact and tomorrow, and we just keep on assessing the situation. Yeah.
Okay, that's good, positive news. GA fixtures announced then for the various league playoffs.
Yeah, Kingspan, Breffni and Cavan is going to host the Allianz Football League Division 1 semi-final clash of Donegal and Dublin. The game will have a 7:15 throw-in on Saturday, June 12th, so that's Saturday week. On the same evening, Kerry are going to host Tyrone from 5 p.m. at Fitzgerald Stadium in Killarney. Monaghan welcome Galway to Clones for their relegation playoff on Sunday, June 13th. Speaking after yesterday's defeat to Dublin, Galway manager Pádraig Joyce was aghast at Monaghan having home advantage.
Yeah, I just heard it's at home for Monaghan. I heard yes, which I find unbelievable because Monaghan broke a curfew of training and now they're being rewarded with a home relegation match, which I find just absolutely unbelievable. Whoever made that decision in Croke Park, but look at wherever it's on. We have been playing Monaghan the last couple of years, and it's been tight enough either way it's going to go. And like they've been impressive in the couple of games they've played as well, and they've been very unlucky even to be in relegation because they've added some great youth and great speed to the game. But again, as I say, I find it baffling if the game is going to be a home game to Monaghan.
As I understand it, he may slightly have got the wrong end of the stick here in that he's talking about Monaghan being rewarded with a home game because they obviously didn't have their home game in the group stages, and so like they've benefited somehow from having home advantage taken away from them. Even Monaghan's game, which was meant to be at home and was played away from their home ground, was chalked up as a home game. So it's not like this has nothing to do basically with the fact that they had a home game taken off them. They would still have had home advantage against Galway in exact, if Monaghan had never had a ban placed on them initially. So I think he's putting 2 and 2 together here and getting 5. Now, you may argue Monaghan, Dublin, all the other teams shouldn't have had home advantage for the full extent of the league. That's a different conversation. But it's not, Nathan, a case of Monaghan somehow benefiting here from the COVID rule break.
No, I think most people would have sympathy with the point of view that were any of these counties punished sufficiently considering the way the season goes and the fact there's no crowds in stadiums anyways. But that isn't how discipline works, that they had one game taken away from them and just because they have another one you can't change your mind and say, well actually, and maybe we might take a couple of Ulster Championship games out of Clones as well.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it'll be...
It's bloody confusing though, isn't it? The games have been brilliant. like free scoring, attacking football, and then you're getting down to the crucial stages. And so, is there going to be a final in Division 1? Maybe not. Is there going to be a final in Division 2? Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm not inclined to get too upset about it. I really am. Like, it's, COVID.
I'm outraged.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, wait, this is a disgrace. Why is this happening? There's a pandemic. Well, so it is what it is. It's been grand. It's been okay. And I guess you still get the playoffs, and you still get, like, Clare playing Mayo, and we're going to talk to Colin Collins later on, a chance to get into Division 1. So you still get your promotion and relegation sorted out. Yes, you don't have winners, not ideal, but just at the moment, in the list of grievances that we have, I'm kind of not too inclined to get that worried about it. Were there other fixtures there, Rich?
Yeah, on the same day as that Monaghan-Galway game, Armagh host Roscommon at the Athletic Grounds. The Division 2 semi-finals both take place on Sunday, June 13th, with the aforementioned Clare welcoming Mayo to Ennis, and Newbridge will host the meeting of your beloved Kildare and Meath. Some news that might interest your season ticket holder at Bohemians, Roddy Doyle, tonight. Dublin's 8-time All-Ireland winner Philly McMahon has joined the backroom staff at Bohemians. It's believed McMahon will help the squad out with the motivational side of the game. McMahon previously worked under current Bows assistant manager Trevor Crowley during his time in charge at Shamrock Rovers.
Interesting. Time to re-evaluate Pep, says Brian. Arguably underachieved at Barca with the greatest ever club team we've seen. Now 10 more cracks at Champions League and only in the final once. All this despite all the money and all the acclaim of being the greatest ever manager.
Listen, look what he's done with league titles, which are what you really justify a manager on, because there's always going to be an element of luck and one-off games in knockout football. But
10 years in a row.
You can see why that point of view is there when the talent that was on that Manchester City bench and the amount of money they have spent, and they have the best of the best in pretty much every position. They can go get whoever, whenever they want, and they feel they have the manager to bring the best out of them. And when it's mattered, he has made mistakes, and that is a criticism. Like, can you put Leon last season on Pep, or do you put it on the players? Like, the players didn't perform, but again, was it the Pep just did something completely out of kilter that meant they couldn't perform to their best?
Yeah, I think it's Pep last year, definitely. And like winning the league with Munich, okay, grand. So I don't know, you can start to chip away at it. The influence he's had on football is outrageous, and some of the football he's produced is outrageous. So it's tricky.
I think, it's obviously more extreme level in Germany, but even winning the league with Manchester City, they should be winning the league.
They should.
It's a huge upset when a team does what Liverpool did last season, or unless one of those other teams sign Harry Kane or Erling Haaland, if they do it next season, like to try and compete with Manchester City with all the resources that they have. Yeah, it's practically an impossible task. It's a shame for Tuchel that we're spending all this time talking about Pep Guardiola, or even for somebody like N'Golo Kante, who, is there a more enjoyable, I'm not saying for his talent, but just because you just want him to do so well all the time. You're just so happy for him when he has the success, and when he dominates a game like that at the biggest stage, yes. Yeah. I understand people who look at that game and say, I want both teams to lose, the money, all of that. But when you dig down into a lot of those Chelsea players' individual stories and where they've come from, like, it is not wealth, it is far from it. And to get to the top of the most played game in the world and to perform like that on its biggest stage, I don't think you can but be happy for Kante and Mendy and so many of those Chelsea players.
Yeah, there can be bright notes within the whole bigger picture. Kieran in Dublin says, utterly bizarre to call Pep a genius, lads. If Solskjaer had done what Pep did, he would be hung, drawn, quartered. Pep's a good manager, not a genius. Can anyone call it, please, says Kieran in Dublin. I'll put that to Pat Nevin later on. Richie, final few stories. So the Clare situation, the Clare County Board situation.
Yeah, peace in our time. The Treasurer of Clare GAA, Michael Gallagher, has issued an apology for comments made about the provision of food for the county's under-20 hurlers. Era Og club man Niall O'Connor raised €4,000 to provide post-training scram for the players. Gallagher questioned if the fundraising effort was designed to embarrass the county board. He's now said that on reflection, he could see how his comments were hurtful and embarrassing. Meanwhile, Wexford hurling manager David Fitzgerald has questioned the media's role in the recent COVID-19 situation, engulfing both his and the Clare panels. Wexford beaten 227 to 23 points by Kildare yesterday, and Fitzgerald feels the Ford Estate have made more of the COVID situation than was warranted.
As we've said in Wexford, the HSC do their job, we do ours. We've no excuses here in Wexford. Right, we went out and we played today, and you know what, guys? It's important we stick to hurling and not side issues. That's all I'd say to you. And that's all I'm interested in the Wexford lads. That's all we're interested in, nothing else. So at the end of the day, we're here to play hurling. We got well beaten today, and we take our beating gracefully. Like, we know the better team won with no excuses, so that's the way it is. And any other side shows, we've no interest. We'll just do the hurling side of things and let other professionals do what they're good at doing.
Yeah, I'm not really... I mean, you can put a lot at the door of the media. Hands up, of course. I'm not really sure in this instance you can. All this kicked off with like the Wexford chairman on radio giving out about what the Clare County Board were saying. Like, they've both come out day after day after day for a few days with different versions of events. Like, the most recent one I can remember, Nathan, is Brian Lohan coming out saying, I have spoken to the HSC. They are telling me it came from conversations with Wexford hurlers. Absolutely. Like, that was the most recent reason this thing blew up, is that statement is on the Clare County Board, and Wexford hadn't responded to that. So actually, I don't really buy it when Davey says, oh, this is a media creation. I mean, it's been Wexford and Clare driving the whole thing, and Wexford haven't actually responded to Brian Lohan's most recent claims. So I'm not shocked to see him trying to say, lads, look, let's put it to bed now.
No, but as you say, it's all been played out in the media. Everything that's been said has been statement, counter-statement, back and forth. And also, it was always going to be covered because there is a bigger issue. Because if we're in a scenario where players have been counted as close contacts, well, all outdoor sport is in a little bit of trouble. So I think everybody raised their eyebrows and thought, what? Well, this isn't what we were told. And you're dead right. Like, you can go back and read through the papers yesterday and any amount of statements from both sides. So the media are going to cover this and are right to cover this. So,
like, I mean, we if a statement's released, of course, like, that's the point of a statement. I don't think Brian Lohan was just putting it out so his mates could see, you know. It was like for media consumption.
For whom it concerns.
Yeah, exactly. Fellas, we are out of time. Richie McCormack, thanks as ever.
Cheers, lads.
Nathan Murphy, thank you.
Cheers, Joe.
We are talking to Roddy Doyle. Many things, also a Chelsea fan next.
There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. Prove to everybody in the world that I am the best. Nobody can touch me.
Kaliski's just scored from a place ball, and he is now put one over the bar from play. Thrown